Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the evolution of money. We're going to examine the question, how does money evolve? And we're going to sort of walk through not only the history, but also the stages of money and how something actually becomes full-fledged money and what does this mean. And my thoughts around this topic have been influenced primarily by three different authors. First is Saifdean Ammous from the Bitcoin Standard, author of the Bitcoin Standard. Second is an article by a gentleman named Vijay Boyapati, who wrote The Bullish Case for Bitcoin, a four-part series. And thirdly is Nick Szabo's On the Origins of Money, an essay on his blog, Unenumerated. And I will have those three writings linked in the description. So let's just jump right into the evolution of money. Start off by taking it back to ancient civilizations. You could think of sort of pre-civilized man as being in a state of nature and people kind of doing their own things in different civilizations. And if people wanted to enter into trade, they wanted to exchange good X for good Y, they would often have to barter, right? Let's say I have some chicken and you have a blanket that I want to stay warm. We trade maybe a chicken for 5 blankets or something of that nature. I don't know, I just made it up. And this barter system is sort of the first forms of money. This first stage of money is just a pure barter system that had a lot of problems. Some of these problems were there was a lack of coincidence of wants. There was an issue known as coincidence of location. There was an issue of coincidence of amount, basically, right? So you can think about this: if I had a cow and you wanted a cow, well, I don't want to trade a cow for, say, however many apples you can offer me, because the apples are going to perish, and who has a need for 1,000 apples, let's say? Like, I don't have a need for 1,000 apples. So really what happened is that people kind of understood that their interests would be best served if they could find some intermediary material, right? And this intermediary material is best if people kind of, one, self-select it, meaning no, it's not imposed from a third party. It just kind of naturally emerges on the market. There are a number of characteristics that serve as a good intermediary, right? You want to just think about this kind of conceptually. You want something that's durable. You probably want something that's portable, something that is maybe divisible. And a lot of different things have served as an intermediary throughout history, whether it be seashells, whether it be stones, whether it be metal or salt or cigarettes even. What is important about something that becomes money, the most important characteristic is that commodity's saleability. And what this means is the ability of that commodity to be able to be sold at any time in space, any time and location, and for it to be able to continue to serve a monetary function, right? And if you look at sort of some of the first forms of money, there are a lot of different examples that Saifdean Ammous talks about in his book, The Bitcoin Standard, but two in particular we're going to talk about in this video. The first is yapstones, which I forgot actually where this form of money was used, but what's important about this first form of money is that, well, sorry, let me rewind and say that you could think about the first forms of money as being almost like collectibles, right? So let's say I found some seashells and I thought that these seashells were beautiful. I thought that they had, ornate value. What Vijay Boyapati calls proto money, right? So the first stage of money is collectible. And it's something that an individual or group of individuals just find beautiful. So yapstones were these stones that were cut into circles. They were limestones, and they were used as money by, I don't remember the group of people, but what happened is that a European settler by the name of David O'Keefe, he found out that yapstones were being used as money, and he wanted to trade with this group of people, and so he brought a bunch of yap stones all at once in order to acquire a bunch of coconut, which is what he wanted. And what happened to these yap stones is that because David O'Keefe was able to bring just a whole bunch of these things at once, they were devalued, right? Because, I mean, you can think about this in simple supply and demand. And this is a very important thing to pause here and talk about, right? Because Saifdean Ammous calls this the easy money trap. So basically, if you have a commodity that is being used as money, you incentivize people to produce more of it. And if people are able to produce more of it, then that thing loses its value over time. So another example of a form of money that was used is beads. Beads in West Africa were used as money. And then when European settlers discovered this, they were able to bring a lot of beads to West Africa, which then allowed them to do trade and for the beads to lose value. And so this gets us back to something I talked about in my last video, and something that is important to keep in mind as we talk about Bitcoin is that if you choose the wrong form of money, there are economic consequences for doing so. And something else about money, and money that is more sound, more hard, is that unsound money drives out hard money. So what that means is if I have sort of a form of money that I think is really good, it incentivizes me to continue to use the form of money that I think is bad for as long as possible. And this gets us kind of to our second step in the evolution of money, which is that something goes from being a collectible to being a store of value, right? I believe that Bitcoin right now serves sort of in between these two stages, somewhere in between being a collectible and a store of value. And this makes sense. So people who are using Bitcoin today, yes, some people are using it to exchange for goods and services, but most people are buying it and they're holding it, right? This is because Bitcoin is fixed in supply. There's 21 million Bitcoins, and it's also very difficult to produce. Right now, the inflation rate of Bitcoin is, I think, about 3.9%, and in the year 2020, that will be cut in half. So right now, the only thing that's more easy or more difficult to produce than Bitcoin is gold, and in 1 year, that will no longer be the case. So after something has sort of saturated the use purpose of store of value, money finally is able to reach sort of this third stage. And this stage is the stage that I think most people understand whenever they start thinking about money and they start trying to evaluate money, which is a medium of exchange. So in this third stage of money, money is being traded and used for goods and services. What I want to really focus on at this time in money's evolution, and really thinking about the history of money, right? So there were a bunch of different things that were being used, and sort of humans had to game theoretically converge to one good. This not only takes place because of the incentive of choosing the most sound money, meaning that if you choose something that is a good form of money, that thing will sort of appreciate in its spending power. And over the last millennia, we have gold kind of beat out all other goods, right? And metal served as, there was a time in which there were a couple different metals that were used as money: bronze, silver, and gold. And metal was a good form of money because it was divisible, right? It was divisible, it was portable, it was able to be, significant value in metal was able to be distilled into small units which could be exchanged. And this gets us back to understanding Bitcoin, which is divisible to the 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin, and it's known as Satoshi. So Bitcoin is also very divisible. And when something is able to be divided into smaller units, it's portable, it keeps its value over a long period of time. People want to accept this thing as a form of money. They're willing to accept it. And over the centuries of human civilization, it took for humans to collectively game theoretically converge on gold as the best form of money. And that persisted for a significant amount of time. And I'm not going to get in this video into the issues surrounding gold. That's something that we're going to visit in later issues, and sort of the dollarization that was allowed onto gold and certification that happened on top of gold. But what we will talk about is that once something is being kind of traded around and people are accepting it as a form of money, is that it's easy for this good to finally become a unit of account. So in this fourth stage of money, we can understand money as kind of having reached its apex, if you will, right? Money is able to be an accurate measurement of goods and services. And George Gilder, in his book Life After Google, he talks about money and he describes money as a system of measurement, right? Money allows you not to measure a wealth, but really to measure time. And time is, interestingly enough, one of, if not the only finite resource that man actually has, and also possibly Bitcoin. But once money reaches this final stage, it really has nowhere else to go. And I think that when people are thinking about Bitcoin and they're trying to understand it, they really get wrapped up in these last two stages of money, a medium of exchange and a unit of account. And it's important to understand that the monetization of gold took a very long time, and Bitcoin is only 10 years old. And as I said, I think it's somewhere in between stages 1 and 2 right now. But once Bitcoin sort of matures a little bit more, and I think that this will take place a lot more rapidly than people anticipate, it will be a better, more widely accepted medium of exchange, and eventually a better unit of account. And so this is kind of just the evolutionary stages of money. This video is already getting way too long. I kind of just want to wrap it up there. But I hope that this was informative. I hope that this kind of gets you thinking about how something can evolve as money. And as we look more and more into Bitcoin, I hope that I'm able to convince you that Bitcoin is not only the most sound form of money, but ultimately a better form of money than the dollar as a store of value, and I believe will be the best unit of account, which will really usher in sort of a renaissance, if you will, in terms of humans finally being able to coordinate using a finite and durable and global permissionless form of money. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Please make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video, and follow me on Twitter at @elima_III. See you in the next one.